Newland St John's Primary School asked me how many parts or sections of the brain there are. And that's quite a difficult question to answer because you can divide the brain up in so many different ways. So you sometimes talk about the cerebrum, which is this big wrinkly part, versus the cerebellum, which is these funny bits here, which live just right at the top of your spine. Then we can divide the cerebrum up into lobes, and we normally talk about there being 4 lobes. So we've got the frontal lobe behind your forehead, the occipital lobe at the back, the temporal lobe at the side, and the parietal lobe on the top. You can also divide the brain up into hemispheres. You can see it splits down the middle here into 2 halves. So sometimes we talk about 2 hemispheres of the brain. But then another way you could divide it up is to look at what functions different parts have. So there's, for example, a motor area of the brain just here and a sensory area just behind it. There's areas that do hearing and speech at the sides, and at the back you've got areas for vision. One way the brain is often divided up is into what we call Brodmann areas, after the scientist who made the analysis. And he came up with 52 regions of the cortex, so that's the wrinkly part all over the surface of the brain. So scientists sometimes talk about Brodmann areas when they're looking at different parts of the brain. But since he did that, lots of these areas have then been divided up further, and actually we're discovering that often different parts of the brain all work together in big networks when we're doing things like thinking or making decisions. So there's so many different ways that you can divide up the brain, and really it depends on what you're talking about, which one of those is most useful.